I'd like to introduce you to our guest verification system. This can be enabled on a per reservation basis, a per property basis, or all your properties. You can enable this by going to your property defaults or property settings, enabling the guest verification at the bottom of the page. You can choose to just verify a phone number, which costs 10 cents. You can verify an identity where the user is required to take a photo of their driver's license or passport, as well as a photo selfie of themselves. This verifies that they are real via biometrics, that they're not taking a photo of a photo and that sort of thing. So you can enable that. That costs $2.50 per verification. You can choose to show your terms and conditions that the user has to agree to, and you can choose to capture a security deposit, the amount of the security deposit and the currency for that security deposit. Once the user has gone through the whole verification process, you are given a verification page where you can see all the steps that have been verified, a copy of the user's driver's license, the photo of them from the driver's license or passport, the selfie they took, which gives an estimate of the age and that sort of thing, and the score of the face match and of whether this was fake or not. It gives the details from the passport or driver's license, such as driver's license number, state, country, etc. It gives you the location that the user was using to fill out the verification, so you can confirm that they're not in a different country or somewhere dodgy. It tells you if they're using a VPN. It at least checks known sources for VPNs, as well as dark web sort of Tor exit nodes that people can sort of spoof their identity, and it tells you whether the deposit was held. If there was damage to the property, you could simply capture that, and that will go through to your Stripe Connect account with us. You can view all these by just unticking the privacy thing here, and all of these blurred out sections will show for you. Now, to give you an idea of how this works on a per reservation basis, you can simply type in a reservation name. So I'm going to go for me, and I'm going to go to this property here, /reservation, and we can see a little box here for verification, guest verification. If I click on that now, there's nothing enabled. So if a user goes to the guide, it simply shows the guide as you would expect and as it works right now. If, for instance, we ticked the box identity verification and terms and conditions, and we put here are our terms, and we enable that, the next time the user views that guide, it'll require them to complete the verification process. You can see we've selected verification of their ID and terms and conditions. If we went ahead and disabled identity, saved, next time they view that guide, they will just see your terms and conditions and be able to scroll through there and accept. If we ticked all four, we put an amount, let's say $20 US, refresh that guide. The user now has to verify their phone number, so they enter their phone number, send verification. That will give a code that the user has to enter. Then the next step will be the identity verification, terms and conditions, security deposit, and then they'll be able to see your guide. So that just gives you extra steps to make sure you're capturing all your customer details before they're able to see your guide and check in instructions. The phone number validation is quite an important key at the moment. Airbnb is starting to move away from providing you phone numbers and email addresses for guests. So more and more we're losing contact details for guests that are needed for emergencies or for getting in touch with the guest about damages and that sort of thing. So it's more important now that we collect these details for ourselves because that right is being taken away from us. So just to recap on that, we can remove the override on this reservation, refresh the guide, user can see it as normal. If we go to property guidebooks, and if I choose this property specifically, property settings, go to the very bottom, and we have this guest verification. So on a per property, you can use the default, which is disabled, or we can enable it for this property specifically, and then you can enable specific items. So that's on a per property basis. If you want to enable it for all properties, you go to property defaults, scroll down to the bottom, enable guest verification, and you can enable which ones you want to pick and choose. And then you just choose the guest. So if I chose this guest here, they've already filled out the verification, so we can see all the verified details. Now this is quite a new product. I would suggest to test it, if you would like to give it a go, is to create a reservation in your software in the future, maybe in 2 months' time. Save it, and then search for the reservation in the top left-hand corner here. And so that's what I've done in this case. I've created a reservation, then click on this little guest verification icon and check on these items and test it and see what you think. We'd love any feedback and to hear from you how you find it.